Hello, Registry EMTs and paramedics. Today I will be showing you how to enter your Con Ed hours into your profile on the National Registry website. This is a process that Medic would like to move towards and use on a permanent basis. Submitting your application to the registry electronically streamlines the way in which your application is processed by our department and ultimately reviewed by registry. With the current number of registry personnel we have on staff, the entering of each individual's continuing education hours by the department is no longer an effective or efficient means of data entry. As such, we are asking each of you to be responsible for entering this information into your registry profile and making sure your records stay current. The easiest way to accomplish this is to enter your Con Ed on a monthly basis. You may do so by accessing your LMS account to view your completed training and then entering that information into the registry site. All you will need is the name of the course, date of the course completed, and the credited course hours. You will then take that information and log it into the registry site underneath the appropriate category. We will also be providing you with a report towards the end of each 2-year cycle, which will list all of the classes, dates, and hours provided over the previous 2 years. You may use this report as well, but as you will see, there is a caveat to this report, as it will not be a personal Con Ed report, but a report of all education provided by Medic. You will need to use the LMS to confirm you attended each training opportunity. We will speak to that a little bit more in detail later. But for right now, let's go ahead and get started and see how this all works. Okay, so before we get to entering our information into the National Registry website, I want to take just a few minutes to go over this spreadsheet and lay it out for you so you kind of understand exactly what it is that you're looking at. This is a report of all the continuing education that has been offered by Medic from March of 2013 to March of 2015. So this is the 2015 2-year cycle for registry EMTs and paramedics. This is a report of simply all of the classes that have been offered. This is not your personal Con Ed report. So it's important for you to verify that you have attended every one of the classes that you see listed here. If you have not only do you need to schedule your makeups, but you will be short National Registry hours. We had to use every hour of Con Ed that Medic has offered in order to meet registry requirements. So again, it is imperative for you to complete those makeups before the March 2015 deadline. So moving on to the spreadsheet itself, it should be pretty self-explanatory if you are in any way familiar with how registry breaks out their Con Ed. You will see there are required categories, there are flex categories, and then there is a last category of additional EMS related Con Ed. Next to the name of the category, you will see how many hours registry requires. So for airway breathing cardiology, they require 8 hours. For med emergencies, they require 3. For trauma, they require 5. And for OBGYN and peds, they require 8. And again, these are required hours. These are not the cumulative hours of the classes that you see listed below. This theme repeats throughout. You see it in flex. And then again, at the bottom, additional EMS related Con Ed, 24 hours. Now what we've done to simplify this entire process is stratify all of the classes that we offered through Medic into the appropriate category. This will make data entry very easy once we get over to the registry site. So just to show how these are laid out, again, under airway breathing cardiology, we offered the class of focused cardiac arrest on 5/13 for 1.5 hours. Airway skills, you got 1 credit hour on 6/13. And 9/13, you got fall sim cardiac arrest, 5 hours of credit. And then in 10/14, you got 0.5 hours of credit for the 12 lead class. And again, that's the same for all the classes you see listed. You'll notice that trauma is red here. That means that we have not yet offered enough hours in trauma to meet this requirement. So this is going to be specific for registry paramedics, EMTs. You are good to go. But for any registry medic recertifying in 2015, you will need to take this extrication simulation class. This is a class that medical services will be offering sometime first quarter next year. You will not be compensated for this class, unfortunately. However, you will be given the opportunity to obtain that 1 hour of Con Ed that we are missing right now for trauma. Now, this is also only for people who only get their Con Ed from Medic. If you have received other Con Ed hours through other training opportunities outside of Medic, and some of those hours you believe fit into a trauma category, then you can go ahead and put that in once you get over to the registry site, and that will satisfy the requirement. However, again, if Medic is your only source of Con Ed, you will need to schedule this extrication simulation. Some of these classes you will note are highlighted in yellow. These are classes that were offered during the AHA months. Now, I have highlighted these in yellow just so they stand out a little bit, so when you're entering the information, you will remember that you can enter this class in only one of these 2 months, either in 5/14 or 11/14. So, for example, if you were AHA in May of 14, underneath additional EMS related Con Ed, you would enter your PALS refresher, your ACLS refresher, and your BLS refresher, again for 5/14. And then for November of 14, you would enter the drowning M&M, the sine wave and VTAC M&M, and the AAA M&M. But again, these are just kind of visual reminders that you can only put this class in either or. Okay, I'm going to scroll down here to the bottom and point out this transition class here. So there was a transition class that was offered by CPM to all registry paramedics in 11 of 13, and you were credited with 24 hours of Con Ed if you attended this class. If you did attend this class, you need to make sure that you have submitted a letter of completion to the Department of Medical Services. That is something that we will keep on file here, and we'll need it should we be audited by the registry. If you did not complete this class, you will still have enough hours for the additional EMS related Con Ed category. As you can see, we only need 24. If you took the transition course, you have a total of 48.25, but if you did not take the transition course, you will have 24.25, which, as I said, will satisfy this category. And kind of the last thing just to point out, you'll see right now we are on the paramedic sheet. If you go to the next sheet over, you will see this is for the EMTs. And again, exactly as it is for the paramedics, your Con Ed is laid out and stratified by category, and you will see that we have met all the requirements for the EMTs. Now, what you will not see down here is the transition course, because again, this is education offered only by Medic. If you have taken the transition course, you can simply type it in and then enter it into the National Registry site when you get there. Okay, so this again will be the sheet that we'll use to enter our Con Ed. You can either print this off, or you can simply keep it in a background window and switch between the 2 windows as you're entering information. If you come across any questions about this spreadsheet, again, please contact Trevor Taylor. I'll be able to explain anything to you, make everything clear. And let's go ahead and jump over to the registry website and start entering our Con Ed. Okay, so let's get started with entering our Con Ed into the National Registry site. Obviously, the first thing we need to do is navigate to that site. So in the search bar, you can type NREMT or National Registry Paramedic or Registry EMT or something along those lines. That should get you there. Or you can come up to the address bar and type www.nremt.org. That will bring you to the home page for the registry. In the top left, you will see the fields where you will enter your username and password. If you've never had an account with the registry, I strongly encourage you to get one, as we are moving forward with the electronic method of submitting your applications. But it's important, I think, as a registered EMT or paramedic to have an account with the registry. So go ahead and click Create New Account if you don't have one. If you can't remember your username and password, click Forgot Your Password. That will bring you to this page here, and you can retrieve both by following the instructions you see on the screen. Once you have your username and password, go ahead and log in. Now this is your profile page. You can verify that by looking in the top left here. You will see your name, your registry number, certification level, and expiration date. You can manage your profile from here. Underneath, you will see the information in regards to the transition course. It gives you the dates by which you must have that course completed based upon your initial certification. So next we're going to click on My Certification. Here we come to a page. This gives you a very quick snapshot as to how many hours of Con Ed you have entered versus how many are left to achieve. It gives you a countdown in days as to when your card will expire. And it also shows as to whether or not you have entered the information for your ACLS and CPR certifications and the information in regards to your transition course. So go ahead and click Manage Education. And it's from this page we will start entering each class one by one. To give you a quick overview of what all is going on this page, you have refresher training here at the top, and again that's your flex and mandatory stuff. If I expand that, you will see all the classes I've entered, how many hours of credit they were. Over to the far right, you will see how many hours you have completed. And then you can also delete classes. If you have made a mistake and maybe put a class in the wrong section, you can come in here, click delete, and then re-enter that class. You will also see each category is listed out on that spreadsheet, and whether or not that is the mandatory category or the flexible category. And that's the same for all of them. I'll go ahead and collapse this and we'll look at continuing education. You can expand that one as well. And you can view the list of all the education you have already entered underneath this category. I'm going to collapse that. We'll move down to transition. So on your page, if you haven't already entered this information, you may have an X or an incomplete or something along those lines up here in the top right portion of that box. If you are transitioning, go ahead and click on the drop down and click Yes, I am transitioning. And as soon as you do that, this icon should change to complete. If you are applying for inactive status, you may do that here. If you are not, you're going to select No, I am currently providing patient care. And again, the icon should change. For your certifications, you can click on either one of these. And then once you do, you'll get this page which shows both certifications. And this is your attestment that you have completed ACLS and CPR and have a valid card. And you'll want to enter the expiration dates of both of those cards here. Once you've done that, click Apply. And now you should have a green complete check mark here and here. Now, let's start adding some classes. I'm going to start with refresher training, And I'll do that by going to Add Class within that box. Click on that. And the first drop down you will get is asking you whether or not you obtain these hours through a traditional refresher course or if this was a typical lecture or something much like with what we offer at Medic. So on the drop down, go ahead and click Refresher through Continuing Education. And that will hold true for nearly all of the Con Ed that you enter. The next box down allows you to select specific classes. This is a pre-populated list of some classes that we have entered. If there is a class that you see listed here that you have taken, please feel free to go ahead and select that and then finish the information below. But for most of the classes, you will just come down and select Other. Now this menu changed here and allows me to manually enter the Con Ed class that I took. So this is where I will now bring the spreadsheet into play. I like to do this side by side, so I'll actually take my windows here. So I have both my internet browser here and my spreadsheet visible to me at the same time. So under Courses, again, I've selected Other. And now I'm going again to start with Airway Breathing Cardiology for my required mandatories. And I'm going to select the first class here of Focused Cardiac Arrest. And then in the description for each one of these classes, you really just want to type something that describes what the class was. Oftentimes, some of the titles we have for our classes we are very familiar with and we know exactly what they were. However, Registry does not. So go ahead and type just a brief description of whatever the class is that you are entering. Okay. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit further, and it's asking me for the topic. So again, I am selecting Airway Breathing Cardiology from Required or Mandatory. And then how many hours that class was, which was 1.5. This one specifically was practical and hands-on. For the date, this was in 5/13, so I'm going to change the year here to 2013. Change the month to May. And then for all of these, you can simply click just the last day of the month. The sponsor should be populated already. And now just click Save Course. So now you can see I have 19.5. Originally I had 18. I'll expand that. And if you remember from the very beginning, this was 0. I had no hours here. Now I have 1.5 of the 8 I need. And that class is now visible underneath my mandatory. So let's add another one. We'll stick with that same category. Again, refresher through continuing ed. I'm going to go Other, so I can enter exactly what the class was. You'll see over here on the spreadsheet, my next one is Airway Skills. And I typically type a little bit more in there. I make sure to cover exactly what's on the sheet as well, because if we do get audited, this is the sheet they'll look at, and this is how we report it out. and then description. Something along those lines there. Okay. And again, I'm applying this to my mandatory airway breathing cardiology. If I look at the spreadsheet, I see that I got 1 hour of credit for that. This was also practical lab, hands-on. And looking at the spreadsheet, we did that in 613. Again, I'm just going to select the last date and save course. Again, you can see my hours climbing. I'm going to go ahead and add the next one. So this is refresher, other, the name of the class, now for any of these that we enter simulations for, you want a very detailed description as to what the simulation was and what all was involved. So for the simulation, you come in for 2 hours. About an hour of that is actual hands-on simulation where you were working through the scenario. And then there is about an hour's worth of debrief. So you want to make sure that you include both the skill set and the debrief. I've had some of these come back to me as far as the simulation classes are concerned, needing more information as to what exactly our simulations are. Okay, so skipping ahead a little bit, you can see I have typed in a description for this fall simulation. And these are scenario simulations through the use of high-fidelity mannequins in realistic environments. Simulation is run in real time with all standard carry equipment, stretcher, and crew members. Following the simulation, a one-on-one debrief occurs with an education specialist where the call is reviewed in its entirety through the use of interactive audiovisual recordings. So that gives just a kind of a brief but thorough explanation as to what these simulations are. Next we will go down, and again off the drop list, this is Airway Breathing Cardiology Mandatory, 5 credit hours. This was practical hands-on. This was completed in 9 of 13. Again, selecting the last date and save. We'll do one more. How about this time we go under continuing education? So these are a little less specific because, again, they don't have to be in specific required or flexible categories. So you have, again, this list. I'm going to choose Other. On my spreadsheet, I'm going to scroll down here and select something off of this list. So I will choose, we'll just start at the top, diversity training. Okay. 3 hours of credit. This was done through lecture. And you can choose lecture or in-service training. Really for all of them, for a majority of them, in-service training is fine. This was completed on 4/13. And save course. Now that class has been added. I can find that out by expanding this list, and you'll see diversity training. Now, as you can see, if you already have some classes that Mr. Barnes has added you to, they'll already show up here. So you want to make sure that you don't duplicate any classes from the spreadsheet that Sam has already filled in for you. If there's not a lot of classes, you can delete what's there and then start fresh, or just simply cross-reference what has been pre-populated versus the information on the spreadsheet. Let's do just one more. So I'm going to go back to refresher training. Other. I'm going to move my spreadsheet back up. And let's enter this last 12-week class. Airway breathing cardiology mandatory. This was worth 0.5 hours. This was in-service training, completed on 10/14. And save course. And that's it. So it should not really take you too terribly long to enter in all of your Con Ed hours. As you can see, I just completed that entire section within this video. I now have 8 of 8 hours that are required in the airway breathing and cardiology mandatory section. Again, I can edit these by selecting them, edit, or I can delete them. And I will simply use that spreadsheet to continue filling in all of these hours here. Once you have finished entering all of your Con Ed classes, to include your refresher training and your continuing education, and we've already walked through the steps on how to enter the information below here, simply click on Submit Recertification. At that point, you will be walked through several steps to verify the information you have entered, also to make your payment to the registry, and then there are some other statements to attest to, and then submit your application. Once you've done that, we will get notification from the registry that you have submitted your application. We will review it, and then as your training officers, we will sign off on it and pass it along to Dr. Swanson, who will then sign off on it. And then you should receive notification from the registry shortly after, and a new card in the mail not too long after that. So that will wrap up today's lecture on how to enter your continuing education hours into your National Registry profile. If you do happen to stumble across a couple of questions as you are entering your information, please feel free to reach out to either myself or Sam Barnes. We will be happy to help you in any way that we can. So until next time, take care, and thank you for watching.